Welcome to the Three Body Narrative Podcast. We are your hosts, Pradyum, Aaron, and Naeem, and we are here to discuss everything pop culture, movies, TV shows, and games. Well, for this particular episode, I don't know if we are going big potato or small potato, but we will come to know about it when we do our ratings and review our movie for today, Spider Man Brand New Day. Now, what is the movie all about? Well, it takes place 4 years after No Way Home, finding Peter Parker completely isolated in New York City after wiping his identity, and only his, from the world's memory. Coping with intense loneliness, he abandons his personal life to protect the city as a full time superhero. Any guesses to what that superhero is? No. All right. So we'll start with our ratings for this movie. And Aaron, you're Peter number one. So take it away.
Well, I thought the movie was quite nice, and so I'll get the rating out of the way straight away. I think I'll give it a 3.5, which I think is for me that's a good rating. So, yep. I like the movie. I think DC should be taking notes. But yeah, it was a very nicely done movie. I think in terms of balancing out the story, the emotional parts of it, humor, as well as a mixture of important characters all kind of holding their weight through the entirety of the movie, so that was nice. So yeah, I liked it, and I think I'll leave it at that to discuss further later, I guess. You're on mute, Praddy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What a start.
What a start. All right. So I think I'm going to give this movie a 3 out of 5. I was actually contemplating a 2.5, but I think maybe the third half, especially with the emotional bits, maybe helped increase my rating at least. I okay, so when I go to the movie, obviously it's an entire movie experience. For me, like the crowd was so irritating. It was so irritating. I could not focus for the first 5 minutes of this movie. Like I just could not, because of just people talking, just randomly screaming and shouting woo woo for no reason. It's as though they've never seen the trailer, which I'm pretty sure they have. So it just felt like for every character they kept doing that, and for every small scene they were doing that in the first 5 minutes, and I got really irritated. And more importantly, like PVR, if you're listening to this, I don't know if you are, but the PVR higher ups, please stop selling cheese popcorn. It absolutely stinks. Like it stinks. The entire theater stinks of cheese, and it's dirty cheese. It's not even the nice cheese. Like please stop. I couldn't focus at all in the first 5 minutes. And so yeah, I think a part of it, and a very small part of it, was kind of like the movie experience did not do well. There were a lot of just random hooligans in the theater, which I was hoping would not be the case, given that I went for the 2D show and I was hoping everyone would go for the 3D version. But getting to the movie, I thought it was all right. Sorry. So it was all right. I got choked up a little bit there. It's just too emotional. This movie was way too emotional. No, but I felt like some of the emotional bits and the comedy bits uh, at times were a bit jarring, at least from the editing side of things. It just felt like you were moving from one like action sequence and comedy sequence to completely being very emotional, and I felt that was a bit jarring at times. I like Tom Hall. I think Tom Holland did a good job, especially in this movie, in terms of his acting range and especially his emotional acumen. I think showed better here. Like it's especially difficult to show off like crying scenes and emotional scenes, and I think he plays that off a lot better than some of the other actors. Not in this movie in general. So I think he did a fairly good job there. The story was pretty rudimentary. I again I just felt like there was nothing that I was blown away. I did get scared by the fact that, I mean, I knew who Sadie Sink was, I knew all of that, so it's not like anything was completely, you know, it took me by surprise. I think, the only thing that was surprising, and I'm glad maybe we got to see a little bit of it, is the fact that they brought the hand in, and then they completely made them kind of the good guys in the first 5 minutes. I was like, oh no, please don't go the Iron Man three-way where you take a huge villain like Mandarin and then make him like this sort of slapstick, not the actual villain. But we did get to see some fight sequences with the hand, which I'm glad for. Overall, yeah, I think, I mean, I don't know if I've given my views on John Bernthal, but especially as Punisher, man, the guy needs to stop just screaming. Like, I feel like, especially every second scene was, especially that Hulk scene where he comes in and he's just screaming always. I'm like, okay, calm down, bro. Nothing's happening. And I feel like they've also dumbed down Punisher's brutality, I guess, for Spider-Man, which makes sense. I guess this can't be as badass that he was probably in Daredevil and his own show. But yeah, overall it was fine. I mean, there wasn't any villain per se, because it's essentially like an agency versus the good guys. And I'm intrigued to see where this Jean Grey thing goes, because from what we know of what the X-Men are going to be showing up in Doomsday, this Jean Grey is going to be way too young for it. I mean, like, questions will be asked of Cyclops then, but I'm guessing it's not. So that's a different universe, blah blah blah. But whatever, I'm just intrigued to see how they treat this Jean Grey in this universe. So overall it was all right. Nothing to write home about. Certainly I thought much better, at least, than No Way Home. I Which I thought was just nostalgia bullshit. But yeah, overall that's my rating for Spider-Man.
Wow. Such contrasting reviews. It feels like Aaron and Praddy have switched places in terms of their reviews. But cool, I'll get the rating out
Funny,
of the way.
funny, funny enough, though, even though it is contrasting ratings, the score remained the same.
No, I'm
uh,
three, you're three and a
oh,
half.
he's three. Yeah, yeah. You
Oh,
give it a
okay.
3.5.
Yeah, I'm not good. I was
Unless
like
now you're
contemplating.
contemplating giving it a 3 because he's given it a
No,
three.
I'm
Three.
still at 3.5. I was still okay with it.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'll get the rating out of the way first as well. It's a solid 4 out of 5. It's the best Tom Holland Spider-Man movie for me. I think this is where he shines through as both the man in the mask and the man outside of it. I love. I think I love the way he's played the character in the sense that you see him being lonely in bits and pieces with Iron Man's departure in No Way Home.
Mm.
Uh, but I think it really kind of hits home and stays with you in this one. The pain he feels, the gut punching, um, sheer helplessness you kind of see on his face when um, Zendaya's character MJ is with someone else, and how that has this heavy bearing on him, where he's really trying not to let all of that impact him, but it does, and in a more significant manner than he initially realizes. And I love how his personal life and the choices he's making is having a direct impact on the hero he's trying to be, without it being driven by his own choice, from the sense that he doesn't realize that this sacrifice this sacrifice that he's trying to make to kind of help make things better for everyone else around him has tremendous impact on who he truly is from a DNA perspective in itself. And that was brilliant for me to see. I thought Sadie Singh's character was a standout. I did feel like I could feel the power that she held, especially in terms of how it breaks through and how it freezes everyone in New York, which is crazy to see in terms of a teenager who's that young to already have that kind of raw power in there, right? That was insane to see. Um, the agency aspect of it, uh, I don't see it with just that. I think it's a more complex villain in the sense that it's not just an agency approach here. These people are like misusing people from an aspect of forcing them into doing things without what they really want to do. Like they're not looking at the human aspect of it whatsoever. It's basically they're superpowered beings and they're forced into these situations, like in the case of oh, spoiler by the way, Jean Grey's sister, Sarah, who's forced into that facility to extract her power out and then kind of misuse that in whatever shape or form. That was quite crazy in the sense that, um, I mean, it's not you've not seen any of that before. You've kind of seen things like
Right.
that in
I mean,
the
there's an
X-Men
entire agency.
movies.
Yeah, X-Men, Captain
Yeah, like
America,
Stryker
all
and
of
stuff like
them.
that. I just thought the main character, like the main villain, didn't feel too much of a threat. CD Singh's character felt like that for me, like in the sense that I
Mm.
was truly taken aback by how powerful she was and how um, the fact that she could just control Bruce like that to devastating effect. Bruce and I mean the
Yeah, yeah,
Hulk for
yeah.
that. Uh, yeah,
Suddenly,
that whole
it really went.
sequence.
It really went cross universe and went to DC, and like
Yeah,
Batman's like,
yeah, yeah. Across DC. Yeah, yeah. Bruce Banner. Um, so yeah, all of that. And I digress and I keep jumping into this. Like I'm rambling on. So just to make it very concise, I thought she was very threatening. I love the uh, emotional beats that she had, especially that small sequence she has with her sister where they're doing the jumps. How she shows her all of that and how she saves her sister, etc., etc. All of that was like really nice for me. The parts with Aunt May played the way it was supposed to, the emotional bearing it has, and how it kind of helps him um, find his grounding in a lot of ways, and also that conversation with MJ, which is quite critical in my opinion. And I love the fact that it's not like everything is just you have that one case and everything is like normal, like whoa,
yeah,
that's all it took, kind of
yeah.
thing. But I also like that while that's not enough, something along the similar lines, in terms of the handshake works with the other friend, which kind of like in the way I saw that was MJ as a character had kind of outgrown her past, trying to do different things and stuff like that. And so in doing that kind of moved on away from who she was as a person. Whereas Ned, I think, um, just in the conversations he's having with Peter, even when he doesn't know who Peter actually is, like, or when he's having those conversations when Spider-Man is there, it just feels like even though he doesn't who really know who this person is, he still has that vibe with him. He's still stuck in a lot of ways in that world that they were in, or in that time that they were in, without actually realizing that. And that's why I feel like, at least that's how I viewed it, that at the end when they have that handshake moment kind of a thing, it immediately snaps him out of whatever the Doctor Strange's magical spell was. At least that's how I see it, right? Like it's not just
Is it? I mean,
there are two
because
ways.
I mean, he just says Peter, which kind of then feels like he
Yeah,
recognized,
but it's
he
for
knows.
me, it's in the emotions, it's in the facial this thing
Yeah,
of it, in the sense that the first time he says it
yeah.
versus the second time you see it, you kind of like the second time it feels like, oh yeah, he does remember him of sorts, as opposed to the first time just saying it kind of a thing. So I think it's a different what do you say, uh context once the handshake happens there. Um, so yeah, like all in all, I love this movie. From I mean, again, the Amazing Spider-Man is still my favorite Spider-Man in the sense that I think to not Toby, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man
Wrong,
is
Peter.
my
Yeah.
yeah, my favorite Spider-Man. Especially that first movie. I thought he kind of, even the second one, to be honest, like leaving out the villain in that. Let's not talk too much about it. But yeah, like I mean, I would have loved to see that universe continue on. But leaving that out, I think in Tom Holland's universe, this for me is by far his best performance as Spider-Man and Peter Parker both.
Hmm.
And I absolutely loved seeing how much his personal life was interfering with his professional life per se. So some funny things that were there was kind of like, and it's not really explained, um, because you kind of see it in the other movies, mainly with Tobey Maguire's movies, where he's kind of struggling to make a living and being the superhero. Here you kind of like he is surviving out there. He's buying flowers and stuff like that. But where is the money coming from? We don't know because you don't really see him working anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And he's not with the Avengers unless there's like some sort of arrangement there where because he's doing some sort of work, he gets paid. Or is it that what is that organization again?
Which
The
one?
the
Damage
one
control.
that's damage control. If they're paying him for the security or whatever stuff like that, but it's not like it's not out there.
Tony
You
But
don't
left.
see him.
Maybe Tony left him some small amount of money when he died. He's like, here, take
Mm,
pension. This is your pension
in his
money.
account.
Every month you
Yeah,
get pension money. Yeah.
yeah, but those are like very small nitpicky things to kind of look at. But it's just funny from that aspect. Like you don't really know what how Spider-Man is getting his funds in terms of.
no, I was just saying maybe it's the will of Aunt May, like the last surviving member now. So maybe there is some fortune that he has, small amount of it or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, her house got destroyed in No Way Home, right? So maybe he got insurance money,
Yeah, who
and
knows?
and also maybe you never know. In the next part, maybe you'll finally find that landlord, like we saw in Tobey Maguire's thing, asking him for rent. Uh,
Was there a mention of that in this? No,
Yeah,
right? That you don't really see that happening.
no,
no.
Okay. Anyway, to end with,
you're
um,
ending now. Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
because you guys cut me short because he was doing the
Okay.
will thing, and um,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so to the point that you made about Punisher, right? I didn't see anything wrong with it. I thought Punisher was Punisher. That's how he's supposed to be. I like John Bernthal, right? Like, isn't that yeah?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
his performance, as always, I've always liked Punisher, and I like the toned down version of him in this to kind of fit him into this universe per se. And I kind of reason with that in the sense that probably he's been working a lot alongside Spider-Man in the kind of conversations you see them having, and probably that's kind of softened him over time. So I see it that way. But honestly, like the back and forth between the two, the fight sequences, and even the part where he eventually uh, shoots him, right, and the implications of that, and how he kind of has he feels that so personally. I liked seeing that side of the Punisher as well, and I really thought like it was a very very like a big brother small brother kind of a
Mm.
thing. They saw worlds very differently, but they kind of wanted the same thing in the sense that they wanted New York to feel safer, or be a better version of it, but through very different means and stuff like that. So yeah, all in all, if you haven't watched the movie, I would suggest definitely go watch it.
And I'd
Don't wait
suggest
for it
wait
to
for
come
a
on Disney
OTT.
Plus.
Yeah, it
Do
depends
not
on
listen to this.
whose view you agree with, I suppose, or in our previous
Oh yeah,
recordings.
that is true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's all right. Maybe
You'd
yeah,
be hard pressed to find a movie that Naeem didn't love, though.
Gunda.
Gunda.
Mm.
That's the only one. But I mean, that was for different reasons. But no, I think overall, see, it's not like I didn't enjoy it. I I feel like the series has a, I don't know. I mean, I would say the plot in all of the movies haven't been the strongest in any of in any of the Tom Holland Spider-Mans.
But
And
what is your issue with the plot in this one?
I just felt it very rudimentary plot, like Route One, and things that I've already seen. So that's mainly my issue with this particular movie. In general, I've just felt that there's nothing unique, nor has it made me feel like, you know, this is something worth watching or paying money to watch, right? So I feel like plots have been the major downsides for at least Tom Holland's the Spider-Man movies, sorry. And in this, I feel, yes, I guess it is probably one of the better ones. I feel this and maybe Homecoming. But especially with in this, I just felt like, yeah, I could predict and I don't like movies where I can just predict the entire storyline. So it just makes me feel like, okay, I'm just watching it now for just watching it. Uh, so I knew Jean Grey. I knew what was going to happen. I obviously knew then that Damage Control was the bad guy. I knew that Bernthal was going to do that. I knew what the ending was. I knew that he was going to talk Jean Grey down at the end using emotion. So stuff like that. I was like, "ठीक है." I mean, it's good. I guess that's what you kind of wanted, and it's it just I just felt like, okay, yeah, all right, it's okay. I mean, that's why I'm giving it an average score, because it was okay. It was nothing. I mean, I'm not giving it a higher score because there was nothing different done. I like the emotional beats, which is why I probably gave it a 3. uh, and the acting, especially, I think, from Tom Holland, much more improved, and from Sadie is a lot better. Shit, one minute.
I have differing opinions in
No, I
terms.
know.
I mean,
That's why
obviously, we
the
have to
rating is
agree. No, no,
different.
no, yeah, yeah. But like from a plot perspective, right? I think
Yeah.
it's too plain in terms of how you kind of lay it out there. I think it is worth paying money for, simply because there are multiple issues you're dealing with here. There is the loneliness aspect and how that has a bearing on his personal and professional life, or how that's um, transforming him in more ways than one. How he's dealing with the monster inside, and keeping it at bay, but then eventually taking that call to kind of make something that would inherently put that monster away for good, because he thinks that's the best way to deal with it, as opposed to learning how to kind of um, deal with his growing powers, which he eventually learns, because you kind of do realize that all the gadgets he's come up with, there is a counter to that, that the agencies developed, because of the amount of exposure he's provided unknowingly to them, and trusting them way too much. And while also doing that, there is the additional layer of what this means potentially for the movies to come as well, with that one specific device that he creates, and that one single conversation he has with Bruce Banner, where he talks about, when you make it universal, you're not talking about controlling all the superhuman or superpowered individuals. Do you think that's the right
Yeah.
approach right now? Which basically, for me, is hinting at what's going to happen when the X-Men eventually enter the fray, right? Like, this is a device which could heavily be used against them eventually when we go down that route. Um, so yeah, I see it as a plot thread that was quite strong in terms of, I thought this was one of the more strong movies in terms of story in itself, especially from a thing where it's been done before, that you can't really win things by yourself, which is why that combination he has with the Punisher is quite important. And like, sometimes it's about taking help from others and stuff like that, and also accepting who you are, uh, to kind of have a better understanding and a more stronger control of what you're capable of being, etc., and all of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, again, obviously differing views, but I just wanted to, when you say things like not worth putting money behind and
Yeah,
stuff like
it's
that,
my
so
view,
I
right?
would agree
I
with that.
wouldn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. That's what
that's
I'm
what
saying.
I'm not saying not worth. I just think, yeah, I guess, yeah, it is
You'd
not.
rather wait and watch it on a
Yeah.
streaming.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
this, yeah, largely that.
Hmm.
Yeah. I
So
think in the movie, in terms of the story, I'd say maybe it's like a good way to kind of build from here rather than see this as the finished product. And I think that's where the Spider-Man series, not series, but this kind of set of movies with Tom Holland has kind of been. It's like just building on it because I think they wanted that, as in start off with a young Spider-Man and then kind of build into something probably bigger. And I think, like Naeem mentioned, here for this movie, they've kind of introduced various aspects like the inhibitor and stuff like that way as possible threats or complications that would come up in the future, I guess, against superhumans or mutants or whatever it is you would prefer to them moving on. And I think that's what they are looking at more than kind of saying, like, everything is here in front of you. Like,
Mm.
I think one thing, which is not a complaint from me, but I think one thing that some people would notice was like, oh, this time they didn't have anything Iron Man related. And I think that was like a decision that they made because they don't
Yeah.
want to throw everything at you in just one movie. And they want to kind of give you different aspects of what he as Spider-Man and Peter Parker is kind of dealing with. And so, yeah, I think they don't want to address everything in just one movie. And maybe that's why sometimes we kind of pick at stuff that we feel is missing. But yeah, like even we don't see anything of like anything Stark related or
Hmm.
like the Avengers related and stuff like that. And it was a conscious decision to not like tie up every sort of loose end. And I guess it's also like a money decision because if you tie up everything, then there's nothing for the next movie. So uh,
Yeah,
probably that too.
they'll always find ways to make money, to make more, and try to build more, and mint more, and milk more. Well, okay, yeah. What else? What do we
Yeah,
know?
very quickly to wrap it up though.
Yeah.
The post-credit scene, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, Pratt, because
No,
I think you kind of left, right?
you looked at my rating. And that's why I texted you. Is this going to be a mid credit or a end credit? And it was like an end credit,
Yeah, it
and
was
it
an
was like
end.
going on and on and on. I'm like,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with again, spoilers, guys. So if you've not watched the movie, and we've
Mm,
already pretty much spoiled everything for you by now.
yeah.
But the post credit scene is basically the app that Ned creates
Spider tracker.
with the Spidey tracker, and it's showing his position on Earth. And kind of as you keep seeing him, it starts panning out, zooming out
Okay.
from city to the country level and then continent or whatever, and then you see the world in itself, and you're basically in space, right? And then
Mm.
like some amount of space onto the right, suddenly there is another Spidey marker that pops up and it says position is here or whatever, like Spider-Man is here, whatever it says during this thing, right? And that's where it basically ends, with him drifting there. Now, different ways to look at it. Um One could be that it's hinting at where Peter might be, like Tom Holland Spider-Man might be in the coming movie or the next movie or whatever. The way I look at it is probably because from what I remember, I don't recall the initial tracker disappearing in itself. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so like you still see that tracker blipping on the map, whereas there's a separate blip that kind of appears. So my thought process in this is that it's Toby or Andrew
Ah.
Garfield Spider-Man that appears, and that's probably happening because their universe is now entering into this universe, starting with an incursion of sorts.
Okay.
Because if Doomsday is there, then you expect the battle world reality to. I'm guessing that's where they're headed. The plan is battle world at some point, and for all of that to take place, there would be at some point multiple incursions to happen. And I'm guessing they're starting off with the Toby or Andrew Garfield Spider. I don't know which universe. I think
I
Toby
think
is.
Toby is.
I think it would be Toby because I think Toby is mentioned in Doomsday. This thing, right? So probably a hint at what's coming in Doomsday. Um, and
Yeah,
yeah, kind of see. I mean, I see it that way. Probably that's what they're hinting at.
understood. Okay. I mean, Aaron, you're the only other one who's watched that the post-credit scene.
Yeah. What was your take on that?
I mean, it was interesting. It was interesting because even though, like Naeem said, the marker was showing on Earth initially, it kept saying position unknown. So
Mm,
uh, maybe that was like the last known scene location, and like that's why it's showing there because it as it was panning out and kind of zooming out and showing you wherever it was that Spider-Man was in space, it was constantly saying uh, location or position unknown till it reached where he actually was in space and said located or something like that way. So it is interesting. I think both are quite plausible in terms of what Naeem said. It could either be that this is a Spider-Man from another world or whatever, but because it kept saying unknown, I'm leaning more towards it being Tom Holland's character, maybe getting pulled into something else or what it is. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, just the I'm just probably overthinking it and giving it too much of a too much importance in the fact that it was saying position unknown. But that's what I was kind of inclined to think.
Okay. All right. Uh, anything else that we
One last
want?
thing was
Yeah.
CD Think, right? Like, I mean, her character kind of heading off into that thing. The
Yeah.
first thing that comes into my head is, oh, she's gonna end up finding Professor X
It looked like
eventually,
the
and then
sort of place
that
where you would have Charles, the school
Charles, yeah,
be somewhere, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
So that's what.
road, winding road through the trees, kind of looked like it was almost heading somewhere to that sort of location. So it gave you that vibe from the offset, I guess, once they
Yeah,
panned out
yeah,
of the bus.
yeah. Could also be going to see her, go find her mother or something. God knows.
Maybe.
could be, yeah.
But I'm betting like when I saw the scenery or the environment, I was like, yeah, okay, Charles Xavier School of whatever that's called.
Whether that still exists or not, I'm not sure because in the comics and stuff, it's her who is the first mutant that Charles gets into the this thing. If I'm not
Hmm.
wrong.
Okay.
So I don't know if the school's already started or he's going to start it or whatever it is, but yeah.
Possibly. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see how that X-Men or this universe X-Men goes about because obviously it's quite young, right? They're quite this
Oh,
thing's
that
Mm.
that that is pretty clear. See, she will not be in Doomsday. So
no, no,
how
I'm
I
not
see
saying
it,
she's yeah, obviously not. That's why I said if
how
it's
I
in
see it
Doomsday,
is
Scott Summers got a
that
lot to
whole
answer for.
Fox universe that we see, with the likes of Professor X,
Yeah,
James Marston. How do you
yeah,
pronounce that name?
yeah.
Okay. His Cyclops, maybe Wolverine at some point. I feel like they all get pulled in into that whole incursion that I'm talking about, and I'm guessing their worlds are going to get destroyed at some point. So
Hmm.
I'm guessing that's how they put an end to that, like
Fox universe.
pay homage to it for everything that's been, but they kind of really need to move forward now, and leave a lot of these. They can't keep going back to the same old people, try
Yeah,
bringing
because
them back
it's
over and
now
over.
been it's been like ever since they left them in the original series, they've come back in the Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy series, so Days of Future Past. They've come back now. They came back in Deadpool versus Wolverine there. So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, at some point you'll be like, "Come on, guys, you just now."
yeah,
Oh,
and I
and
think
they
this gives them a
and
clean break as well. Like when
and
you kind of,
multiverse of madness.
yeah,
Uh,
I mean a
Charles,
version of them, right?
yeah,
There was a
whatever.
version of them. So
Correct.
I kind of like think, and anyway, I did read an interview from Feige. He said once this phase of Avengers movies ends, there will be only one single universe. to kind
Hmm.
of follow. They will do away with the multiverses and stuff like that. So it'll become
Interesting.
easier from
Yeah.
that perspective. So if they're saying that, then I can only think of one way doing it, which is the battle world uh, approach, which is
Yeah.
basically Doomsday going crazy shit and like
Those sentinels are
eliminating
about
all
to
the
kill.
universes
Yeah.
that exist and to kind of bring forth that one universe which he rules over. So yeah, interesting times ahead. I'm kind of sad they kind of have screwed it over big time with the whole Kang and how that would have worked and stuff like that. They kind of had to midway chop that off completely and kind of do whatever they could to kind of move away from that and back into this. Um, Excited for Doomsday, but kind of uh, like there's this one part of me that's like, oh man, they're so overly reliant on uh, RDJ's character now, Doomsday, and then Captain America and Steve Rogers,
Yeah,
like
because
that whole.
clearly the new Avengers and the
Yeah,
new.
I mean they're good enough to play the role, like for instance, come into my office and stuff like that. Those thing moments are
But
pretty
again, I'm
cool.
like,
Big
I mean,
potato, just small
I
potato,
get
whatever.
it, but Yelena has what? It's Yelena, right? I think in
Mm.
the new Avengers.
Yelena, yeah,
Yeah,
it is Yelena.
I mean, I watched Thunderbolts, which I thought was fine, and like to see her again. I suppose they've obviously modified the character to fit the Spideyverse, like they did Punisher, and I get it. And it's obviously it's funny, Florence Pugh is fun, all of that. But it is very jarring to know what the character was in like the Thunderbolts thing, and to see a like completely different side to this. And I don't know whether they could have chosen other characters, maybe. I like maybe David Harbour's that Russian guy, right, which is Yelena's father. I mean,
If he
obviously,
was in that swimming pool and he asked him to get him into the swimming pool,
it's okay. So what?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be funny. That would have been
But
really funny.
see, honestly, though, I think like Spider-Man did have like the right amount of humor and emotion, uh, which like I think a lot of the sort of DC ones, like Flash, right, for instance, in the DC verse is supposed to have but does not have or did not have. And yes, so I think in that case, yeah, I would agree with Aaron. Like maybe learn from from this in terms of balancing that out. Uh, but yeah, I think that's about predominantly it. But yeah, I think overall, yeah, it's not a terrible. Like I think Supergirl 1.5 or 2 or something because that I didn't feel anything here. I mean it was nice, but um, I think a combination of factors, uh, not purely just the movie, but just the experience does affect a large part of it. And when you're like every 20 minutes having to cover your mouth or like breathe under your shirt in order to not pass out, yeah, it does take
Because
put
of cheese
your
popcorns.
cheese popcorn, man. Fuck that cheese popcorn. All right, so I guess with that, we are going to end our review and rating for Spider Man. Clearly contrasting views, so it'll be interesting to know where you side and with whom you side. Whether you've actually gone to watch, if you've gone to watch, then you are clearly, I mean, my recommendation doesn't matter because you've already bypassed that. But yeah, what would you suggest people do for Spider Man, and where does this rank in your list of Spidey movies so far? But I guess that's all the time we have. Catch you all on our next episode. Until then, see you.